Trolls has been rated for mild, crude humour and for some scenes that might be scary for small children. So let's start with the crude humour and explain what that actually is. Well, there's a lot of bottoms seen in this film, a lot of troll bums, and these creatures are quite often nude, they run around nude. You don't see any genitals or anything like that, but you do see a lot of bums. That's it. There's also quite a few references to icky things. So there's a lot of glitter fart jokes, and there's a urination joke when a character that looks like a cloud gets a fright, and of course it starts to rain from the cloud looking like pee. And there's another joke where another character gets a fright and kind of poops out cupcakes. As for the scary scenes, now thanks to your beautiful feedback, and thank you very much for everybody who does get in contact with me, I am aware that quite a few of you or your family members are afraid or a bit uncomfortable with spiders. So I do want to let you know that there is one scene involving spiders and spider webs in this film, and what actually happens is one of the main characters comes into contact with some spiders. She ends up being wound up in spider web, and she seems to be unconscious. So then there's you see these massive big spiders then looming in on her. She does turn out to be okay. She is rescued, but it is a little bit creepy and a little bit scary, particularly if you do have a fear of spiders. There is a few other scenes as well where there are spiders, but they're not as scary in those scenes. The other scary scenes are mostly centered around the Bergens. The Bergens are, interestingly, even though the trolls are cute and cuddly in this one, the most troll-like looking creatures are actually the Bergens. They're really large, really ugly, grotesque looking creatures. Some of them have big yellow scary eyes, or yellow and red eyes. They have sharp long claws or fingernails. They have very crooked and ugly looking teeth. They have warts, and I mean, you get the picture. They're not the most attractive looking creatures, and they tend to eat our trolls, our heroes. So this is what the film is actually based on. The whole premise is around the idea that these Bergens celebrate once a year by eating a troll. So that's the other thing that I should mention in this film, is that a lot of trolls do get eaten, or there's a lot of discussion about trolls being eaten in the film. So you do see some of the characters actually being consumed. There is one scene where you see that a grandmother is kidnapped, and you don't actually see her being eaten, but you understand that she basically sacrifices herself for her grandson. So you see her being taken away, and obviously she gets eaten. It's the idea of being kidnapped and being stolen and being eaten by Bergens, which, you know, is a bit yuck. But so as for the rest of the content, there isn't any sex or nudity in the film. So the closest thing that there comes to being any sex-related content is there's a lot of hand-holding, a lot of hugging, and there's one character who is infatuated with another character, and you see her swooning quite a bit. She kisses a photograph or a picture in a magazine of this particular character, but that's really it. So yeah, no drugs or alcohol anywhere in the film, although there is one scene, a slight alcohol reference. You do see some trolls chugging an unknown liquid. It might possibly actually be a jar of sweat. It might not be, but there's a reference to sweat beforehand, and anyway, it's a bit gross. So, but that's the only even closely alcohol related content in the film at all. And as for swearing, of course, there isn't any bad language or offensive language or swearing anywhere in the film. There's a tiny bit of name calling. I think someone's called a greedy pig is probably the most offensive language that anywhere in the film. But of course, there's no, F words or S words or A words or anything like that. It really is quite a clean and accessible film for the whole family. As for the enjoyment of the film, I actually really enjoyed this film. It's really fun, really vibrant, has a really lovely message that doesn't get rammed down your throat. It talks about happiness and the idea that happiness is inside of all of us, and sometimes it's just a choice. Do we choose to be happy, or do we choose to be miserable? Because misery, of course, is equally just as inside us. Thought in a comment below. Of course, there is a more detailed breakdown of the content of the film on the website, which is cinemum.net.